Hello, everyone. This is Lisa Harrison. I'm on a call with Brian Kelly, Bob Wright, and Kiri from New Zealand. And we're going to discuss her journey over recent days and weeks with attempting to deposit her declaration of value in New Zealand. So, welcome to everyone.
Hello. Hi, Brian,
Hey,
Lisa,
hey,
Kiri.
hey, Bob. Hey, Lisa. Nice to chat with you, Kiri.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. It's a
Okay,
pleasure.
so Kiri, just briefly, your background in researching what's wrong with the world. Let's start with that. How long ago did you start on that journey?
Okay, I started about approximately 3.5 years ago, and it all started with the what we call here in New Zealand Child, Youth and Family, which is the social service agency. And I have a daughter who was born with a kidney condition called nephrotic syndrome, and I prefer for alternative medicines and second opinions. So, and at that stage, I was being forced by the hospital to administer these medicines that I didn't agree with, and neither did Eden, my daughter. So, out of all of that, they contacted Child, Youth and Family to come and take Eden out of my care. Which when I first got the first notification, I just decided that, rather than getting upset about the whole thing, I was just going to get smart about it. So I started digging and looking for ways to be able to challenge these people on their authority that they had over me, B, what jurisdiction they comprehended this to be. So I discovered things like the commercial affidavit process and Mary Croft's book. I think that's her name. Don't quote me
Yes,
on
it
that.
is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I discovered things like that, and there was another one called Cracking the Code that I found was a really awesome resource. So I went looking for information to be able to just protect myself and my family from these people, because they they take a lot of children. Every week, children are being taken from their families here, which I don't believe in, because back in 2006, I wrote a program that sort of helped alleviate that problem rather than taking the children. My program was about reintegrating and helping the family to work together to establish what barriers they were going through, and then building a plan to be able to eliminate those barriers, and then build a plan to help the family to move forward with each other.
Well, I don't know if it
Um,
works the same in New Zealand as it does in Australia, but the state governments are paid a substantial amount of money every year for every child they take away from their families and put into state care. So
yes,
the incentive is there for the state to remove the child.
yes, no, exactly. They've Here in New Zealand, they're paid monthly bonuses.
Exactly.
So it's a great way to boost their income at the end of the month,
So can I just
their
ask how old
salary.
your daughter was when this started?
She, when this all started, she was approximately 4.
And how many children
Um,
do you have all up?
I have eight children all up.
So another
um,
powerhouse mother. I love it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Done my rock. Everything I do is for them. So, and the way I see it is that, if it's going to be someone, if it's got to be, it's got to be me. So, no one else is going to be able to provide that safety and security for them other than myself.
So
So I just want to.
what started out as a journey to try and protect your family took you
Mm,
down many different rabbit holes around
yeah.
jurisdiction, authority, and I guess what we all term the straw man movement.
Yes, yes, and oh yeah, the straw man popped up too. So I was discovering each and every single, corrupt thing that our big brother, and unfortunately our, ministers, what they were a part of, and it was mind-boggling for me. I didn't understand it at first, but as I got into the research of it and started learning the language that they use compared to the, common language that we use. So once I started understanding that, and then understanding where money was coming from, how money was created, it just opened my eyes up to the fraud that was really being committed. Not only that, it was also a journey to help me to discover who I really was.
That's the big part of all of this.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, I don't know if you ever get the feeling, but all my life I've felt like I've always preached and told everyone I'm going to be a part of something big and something huge, and it's going to be something that is absolutely life changing. And the way we see the world today is not going to be the way it's going to be, you know, when this thing occurs.
You're among family.
Yeah, so you know, I'm really embracing this moment to be able to finally, you know, chat with you all in person, because I'm totally blown away. Now I only discovered the OPPT approximately May to June, so I don't really know too much, and I'm still you know, figuring out who's who and you know, who's what. So
based on that, what you've done is incredible.
Yeah. Well, when I found your guys, you know, the OPPT stuff, it just all made sense. Everything that I'd been learning over the last 3.5 years just fit into place perfectly. It was honestly like a jigsaw piece to the puzzle. So, and a light bulb went off, and I mean, because I use my initiative. I mean, I'm pretty smart when it comes to. I'm an excellent problem solver, so I'm a natural-born problem solver. That's my forte.
You have you have 8 children, darling. You have to be.
The girls' room is calling me again.
So to be able to, you know, discover what the OPP had done, it just reaffirmed and reconfirmed what I sort of already knew. And then when I started looking at the OPPT stuff, that then opened my eyes up to all different avenues on how to attack this monster. Well,
so do I understand? Do I understand correctly that you were working on your own process, similar to what the One People's Public Trust did?
Yes, basically, I was trying to secure full control of my straw man.
Wow.
So, and I was learning that process, and I, you know, brought myself up to, I'd upskilled myself on the knowledge of the UCC filings and how to go about doing it, and what documents you needed to get into place to be able to do it. And I was in the middle of preparing all of that, and then getting it, you know, sort of getting it to a state where I could send it off and notify all the parties.
So you already understood at that point that
the story sound familiar, guys?
Yeah, it's Bob's story too. So you already understood the role that the UCC was playing in all of this.
Yes, wholeheartedly. So,
how did you discover the One People's Public Trust UCC filings? How did you stumble upon the information, and what research did you do into it? Have you read all? I have to assume you probably read all of the filings. That's a really good start. A lot of people that find the information, they don't read any of the filings. They don't, do they? They try to catch up on the gossip and think that they're up to speed. But I'm just curious, because there's obviously a lot. Considering you came in sometime in May, we've been at this since the end of December. It's a lot of catch-up work to do.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot to take in, but like I said, I was quite lucky that for the last 3.5 years I've already been, you know, on that same sort of process of what the OPPT did. So when I first discovered it, it was through Jen.
Yes, I actually have to give Jen a shout out. I attended a One People meeting on Wednesday. What's today? Friday. So Wednesday the 17th of July, hosted by a mutual friend of mine and Kiri's, Jen. And as I arrived in the door, she gave me your paperwork, Kiri, of what you had done in regards to depositing your value. And that's where it all kicked off. So when did you decide that you were going to just take the initiative and go off to the bank?
Well, I've been thinking about it pretty much since I heard about the declarations and stuff that Heather was putting together. So I've been sort of sitting, waiting, you know, being patient for these documents, but then at the same token, my heart has been yanking me to not sit and to not wait and to just keep doing and keep moving forward with what my original plans were.
Can we, can we back up? I'm glad you mentioned that. Can we back up just a couple steps?
Sure.
And can you share with us what your original plan prior to stumbling across the UCC filings and all the work that the One People's Public Trust has done? What was your plan? What was your objective? What was your intention? And what were you ultimately trying to accomplish?
Basically, I was trying to separate myself from the government and put myself in a position where they recognise me as a living being, as opposed to a legal entity. Also, I wanted to secure my value. That was another plan. I understood that they used the birth certificate, etc., to create, to split the titles and to securitise those titles, which apparently were traded as bonds or something like that, to that nature. So I wanted to be able to secure rightfully everything that had my name on it, everything that was created. I basically wanted to secure all of that back. So I, started researching how, what avenues or what was available to me to be able to do all that. So that was my original plan. And I mean, I believe in a system that doesn't include money at all. I mean, I've preached it for many years, even when I was younger, at high school, that I believe in a system where money is not even in the equation. I actually visualised a system that was probably more similar to an FPOS system that would, if you had a need for anything, you'd go into the store and swipe your card and it would just be produced and it would be available, on demand, rather than the fact that people have to rely on having funds in the bank to be able to feed their families. Because to me, I think that's wrong. Because, and anyone that makes that conscious decision, to me, is committing criminal intent, because they're making a conscious decision to deprive someone of something. And so, I mean, those were, all of that was part of why, why I've chose to really jump down the rabbit hole. And I knew once I jumped into that rabbit hole, I knew there was no going back.
Now, Kiri,
Yep.
You had, up until the point that you had found out about the OPPT filings and everything, you were already bucking the system. Now, at the time that you went to deposit your value, what would you say your relationship was with the system? They already knew who you were.
Yeah, they already knew who I was. So everyone here in Hawera, all the officials, I've served courtesy notices on. Not only that, prior to stumbling on the OPPT, I'd already served my own friendly reminder notices to, accepting their oath for value, also noticing the courts and agents of, who I was and what I stood for. So they were well aware.
They were well aware of who you be.
Yes, they are well aware of who I am. And so not only that, we've had a few incidents where our policy enforcement officers have been pulling up children, high school children, with no helmet on their bike and giving them an $80 infringement notice. So it's at that stage that I served a friendly reminder notice on the officer, and then I informed the boys of their alternative rights, that because the police read one set of rights, and then I said to them, well, boys, are you aware that back in 2012, on the 25th of December, it was publicly announced that the OPPT is foreclosed on the government, which means they don't really have any authority or any mandate to force this onto you. And if they need then entering into a contract, and they'll need your consent for that. So if you deny them consent, they can't actually issue you that infringement notice without your consent. And I said, are you aware of that? And they were like, oh, no, we weren't actually. And I said, well, you might want to ask this policy enforcement officer here about that. And the policeman, he was absolutely flabbergasted, and he ended up walking away and jumping in his car and taking off. So, I mean, there's been a number of incidents where we've done that down here. And I also drive around in an unregistered, unwarranted vehicle. And I won't register or warrant my property because it's mine. I don't see why I should pay anyone else to have my property. So I'm very courteous, and I always inform. So when I arrived here in Hawera, because I'm originally from Wellington, I informed all the departments, of my intentions. So I was completely transparent, and I have been completely transparent with them the whole time since my arrival.
Which was when exactly?
I arrived here approximately March. At the end of March, I arrived here in Hawera.
You've really made your presence felt in a short period of time.
Yeah, I have. And I've had meetings with the Chief of Police down at Hawera to question him about the OPPT filings, etc., and to also ask him some legitimate questions from the OPPT filings. And it's quite amazing how these people go from being really quite strong-willed characters to really childish. And they start acting like little children. So when you even mention the OPPT filings,
did it sound like they had heard of it before, Kiri, or did it sound like yeah, go ahead.
They're really ignorant towards it, but at the same token, they give themselves away by mentioning things here and there that reconfirm what I've just what I've just asked them. So they give themselves away quite easily. I mean, I have a way of sort of extracting the information from them without them even realizing that they're just, they're taking the bait, hook, line, and sinker, really. So.
Well, you're a poster child for courage, so I gotta commend you.
Oh, thank you, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank my kids, thank my children, because they're the reason why.
So let's get on to the story in regards to depositing your value. What was the first step you did there?
Okay, so the first step I took was I went on to our what we call the Personal Property Securities Register. Now that's the register here in New Zealand that we use to record security interests on things.
It's the New Zealand, we've got it here, it covers Australia as well. It's the Australia and New Zealand equivalent local version of the UCC, right?
Yes, exactly. So I went on to there and I placed I registered an old checkbook that I had to a closed bank account with National Bank of New Zealand, and I registered my instruments. I called them negotiable instruments on the as collateral, and I registered the numbers on the securities website. So once I did that, I put a little piece in there, which I think I emailed that. I think Jen may have emailed that to you, Lisa, the copy of the financing statement. So once I did the financing statement, I then sent a letter, which was the letter to the ministers. And the ministers being John Key, he's our Prime Minister, and then there's Michael Heron, he's the Solicitor General. Bill English, he's the Finance Minister, and Graham Wheeler. I asked Bill English to notify Graham Wheeler, he's the Governor for the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, to bring him up to speed on everything because I didn't have contact details for him. I notified the Ministry of Justice. I also noticed the Minister of Police and the Minister of Economic Development. So I was quite clear about my intentions, and it was just a notice regarding the foreclosure of the World Bank and corporations on December the 25th, 2012, and unlimited personal liability arising from foreclosure of all banks, all corporate governments, and all other corporations by UCC filings of the One People's Public Trust. So that was the subject of the letter.
Suffice it to say they were made aware.
Yeah, definitely. I was completely transparent about all of my actions, and I also took full responsibility and 100% liability as well. So, I mean, if you've had a chance to look at the letter that I sent to them, everything I outlined quite clearly. So I'd let them know that it had come to my attention that all of the world's banks and corporate governments had chosen to foreclose upon themselves due to the unrebutted UCC filings of the One Peoples.
I will publish a copy. I will publish a copy along with the interview. Yeah.
Yes, please.
I was going to say, because we haven't, Bob and I, Lisa, you probably read that. We haven't. I know the people that are going to listen to this haven't either. Is there a copy available that we could read on for this interview, or should we just post the document when we put out the video?
Well, we'll do both. I'll send you one through right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm happy for that.
Okay, so you don't want to read it?
You want me to read it?
Well, do you have it with you? I mean, we could.
Yeah,
we could just post
I
it with the video. If you want to read it,
with me.
if you want to read it, yeah, go for it. Read
Okay,
it.
yeah, sure. I'll read it, shall I? Okay, it says, Dear sirs and madams, greetings to you all. It has come to my attention that all of the world's banks and corporate governments have chosen to foreclose upon themselves due to the unrebutted UCC filings of the One Peoples, formerly oppt, which remains unrebutted and stands as absolute truth in law, commerce and being, registered in public record, universal law ordinance for all the world to rely upon. Your attention is also drawn to the positive benefits that the oppt filings offer for every person. Foreclosed banks cancels debt, cancel government charters, eliminates unlawful taxes, statutory law, and all courts, etc. In the absence of government statutes, banks and other corporate contracts, the only instrument that will compel performance between private individuals is a lawfully binding one. Many significant changes have come about, including that we now live in a world of unlimited responsibility and liability. That may bother you, but when you have a huge asset to call upon in need, the fact is mitigated. At the same time, the trustees invoked a replacement system of governance called Creators Value Asset Centres, or CVACs. The CVAC system is the antithesis of the corrupt, externally controlled looting devices that were termed governments. They are, in fact, in commerce and law, preserved by public policy, registered as wholly owned with full title, value, and rights co-jointly and equally by each one of the people on this planet. Okay, where are we? Expressly warranted to be entirely transparent entities that exist only to serve the people of this planet by providing any systems of assistance the people of this planet deem necessary or desired. And these systems are prevented from impinging on any aspect of the free will of any human. The trustees have returned and allocated a significant amount value to each human, a value that could pay the debt of the average person many, many times over. This value I have registered and recorded on the Personal Property Securities Register. A perfected financing statement exists for negotiable instruments that are the physical representation of my value, which I choose to use to access my Creators Value Asset Centre to provide me with any assistance I deem necessary or desired until the old systems of slavery have been completely replaced with the CVAC systems of assistance, with full responsibility and full liability. Notice the financing statement verification attached for your information. The CVAC system is presented as a planet-wide, completely interconnected network structure, run only by bonded public servants who act with full responsibility and in full liability at all times. Every human on the planet is served by CVAC and its branches. Each former nation on the planet has one CVAC branch reserved for it. This incredible paradigm shift is just beginning to unfold right now. This document also notices a lawful and legal challenge to approaches by individuals acting in ignorance of the new system or knowingly, willingly and intentionally attempting to usurp, violate, invade, abrogate, subjugate or insubordinate any being on this planet. It is also an invitation to participate transparently with integrity in the greatest period of change ever seen on this planet. Your responsibilities, now that you have become aware of the fact of the matter, it is your onus and responsibility to provide proof of claim in the form of a sufficient verified response of a lawfully binding contract, presumed or claimed to exist. Additionally, any claimed contract must possess all of the elements of a lawfully binding contract, including but not limited to offer, acceptance, true reliant statements of fact, intent and consideration, and that these elements have been knowingly, willingly, and intentionally disclosed to me. It is now your responsibility to inform and advise any colleagues and all executive teams and any and all lower-level employees acting for or on behalf of any foreclosed entity acting against my best interests. Bill English, the man acting as Finance Minister, I have the pleasure in requesting that you notify Graham Wheeler to bring this to his attention. I do not have contact details for Graham to include him in this notice. Thank you. So that was the first part of the letter that was sent to him. And then I just included what was called a sufficient verified response, which was just basically terms and conditions. But I did also let them know that, I said to them, in the months to come, our world is going to change beyond recognition. Our true history will be revealed along with the truth of the system we have all been living under. Much technology has been withheld from us, will be released, including power, production, health and transport. All disease and pollution will be the thing of the past. May you use compassion to humble yourself and give and receive only that of the highest energy we call love, as we enter into this new and exciting transition for human beings on the planet. As I forgive you all, I too ask you forgive me. Blessings be upon you all, yours faithfully, without prejudice, Kiri Campbell, eternally since embodied. Now,
Oh my God!
How good is that?
I could kiss you right now.
So that was the letter that I sent to all the ministers, just to inform them, just to be completely upfront and transparent, nothing to hide whatsoever, about my true intentions of what I intend to do. And as far as I'm concerned, I've made up my mind, and I'm standing my ground, and I'm going to stand in my own space with this. And I mean, if it comes to a challenge, then so be it. I'm up for the challenge. I really am. And I'm excited about this whole thing because I believe everyone is playing their part perfectly. Whether we view it to be a good thing or a bad thing, everybody is playing their part perfectly. Everything is falling into place. I don't know if you guys can see it or feel it, but I see it, I feel it, and it's just amazing. So
you're in. Let's just say you're in very good company.
Yes, I know
Preaching to the choir.
Wow. Okay. So you registered. You did the registration with your version of UCC in New Zealand, and now you've sent this letter out to all the people that you've mentioned, notifying them of what's gone on in the world over the course of the last 7 months or a year since One People's Public Trust was formed. Now you're at the stage where you're ready to walk into the bank. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So prior to walking into the bank, I prepare an application. So within my application, I have an application
to the bank.
Yeah. It's an offer really. In regards to depositing my value.
So on the UCC, on the PPSR, you register the actual deposit slip that you've got, or the check.
What I did was I registered the negotiable instrument that I was going to use, that I chose to use as my representation to access the CVAC systems of assistance until the old slavery systems were completely replaced.
Which happened to be an old.
Which happened to be my old checkbook.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, so you use an old checkbook.
Yeah.
Issued by the bank. Okay, for a closed account?
For a closed account, definitely.
Got it. Okay, we follow.
Yeah. So once I did that, I just basically wrote to the bank. I'm just trying to see if I've got a copy of that here. So I prepared some correspondence for the bank, and it just included a brief letter to them. I addressed all the appropriate people, so I also mentioned that it was private and confidential, and it was for CEOs and executive teams only, and not to be viewed by lower level employees. Now, the reason why I did that is because I've been sort of observing everyone's doing and being, and I've sort of noticed that the responses that some people are getting with the lower level employees just by having telephone conversations with them Lower level employees, I don't think are in their full capacity to be able to deal with something such as this, which is why I decided that I'm not even going to bother with the lower level employees. I'm going to go straight to the top. So I made sure. So I walk into the bank, and I asked the lady there if she can please provide me with an email or the fax number for their head office that I needed to notify their executive team and their CEO, Kevin James Murphy. And they sort of didn't, they don't give out those details. So I said, well, that's okay. Is it possible if I can bring some correspondence back to you? It's very important. I said, and it is private and confidential. So can I bring that back to you? Can I put it in an envelope and bring it back to you and give that to you and give you the charge of delivering it to your CEO? And they were really accommodating. They were just like, yeah, no, hey, look, that's fine. We can do all that. Now this happened 2 days after I've notified all the parties. So I go away, I prepare all my correspondence, and I put it in an envelope, mark it appropriately, take it into the bank. And when I get there, they're already expecting me to come back with it. So they greeted me. So I hand it over, and then I also hand over the negotiable instrument at the same token, attached with my deposit slip to the bank account of where I wish for my value to be deposited. And she takes it with great pleasure. And obviously she starts to blush because of the amount of zeros that are on it. Because I made it to the value of 15 million units, 15 million credit. And so she's starting to shake and go extremely red at that stage. And and then the other bank teller next to her sort of looks over and then looks down at the deposit, and she too starts acting all funny. The poor lady standing next to me, who's at the bank depositing her own money, she looks over, and because at that stage the bank teller says to me, she's shaking and she's saying, oh, I just need to go and get somebody, if you don't mind, because I just need to get somebody to count the zeros to make sure it's all correct, because she's getting ready to enter it all into the system.
But you clearly didn't have that amount of money in cash on you that you were depositing. You didn't have anything else with you to go along with that, which is what would normally happen in a deposit. Yeah. You didn't have a check. You didn't have anything.
No.
So she was knowingly prepared to enter this on its own, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she must have already been briefed on how to handle you.
Well, I'm judging that you're correct, because whenever I go in there, they give me that look. They give me this look like, oh, here she is. I mean, because I was a part of the flash mob courtesy notice here in South Taranaki, and I led it actually. I led the
yeah, that's probably more accurate.
Notice. So we went around, delivering foreclosure flyers to all government departments here in Hawera, and all the banks, just to bring everyone up to speed. And I did say to them, that we'll be back in a couple of weeks to serve courtesy notices if we need to. And they sort of laughed about it and chuckled it off. But I'll tell you what, an incident occurred where we were down at the work and income, which is the social services, and you apply for a food grant. And they decline your food grant down here, so because you need to have some sort of excuse or reason to want to have food, and just being a basic necessity, or the need to live, because without food we can't live, is not good enough for them. So you need to have some sort of financial distress before you can apply for food. So we did that, and we had the whole conversation recorded. It was absolutely hilarious. So we go in and we apply for this food grant, and I'm recording. I'm very open about it, and I'm walking around with my iPhone recording everything, and the security guard's sort of sitting there looking at me, And when they call out to me to come up, they say, "Oh, hi, come on, come and have a seat. How can we help?" And I said, "Oh, I need to apply for what's called a food grant." And she says, "Oh, why is that?" I said, "Oh, because I need some food. I need some, some funds available to buy some food." And she goes, "Well, why do you need, how come you need food?" I said, "Well, we don't have enough at home, so could you please help us?" And she wasn't very helpful at all. And she says, "Well, there's an easy explanation for that." And I said, "Oh, okay, what would that be?" And she goes, "That would be, why don't you go and get yourself a job?" And I said, "A job?" I says, I have a job. I says, I run an online business, and I also take care of 8 children, so I have lots of jobs, thank you. And so she, by at that stage, obviously everyone was sort of prepared to expect something from me, because everyone was honing in on the conversation. And one case manager jumps up and she goes, "Oh, I'll go and get the boss." And I said, please do that. Go and get the boss. Bring the boss here. And the manager comes over and I says, "Come on, Ross, come and have a seat. Come and join in on this." And he goes, "Oh, yep, coming. So, what can we do for you?" He goes, "What seems to be the problem?" I says, "The problem is I've come in here to get a food grant because I require food, and food is a basic necessity." I said, "And your case manager here is committing criminal intent. She's making a conscious decision to deprive me of a basic necessity, something that I need to sustain myself." I said, "Not only that, she keeps quoting these statutes and acts from a foreclosed entity." I said, "So now she's aiding and abetting a foreclosed entity that was hiding under the guise, that was in actual fact a corporation hiding under the guise of the people's government." And he was like, "Oh, look, don't come in here dribbling that, and it's just the food grant." I said, "Exactly, it's just a food grant. Like, why do you put people through so much stress?" I said, "People have enough to deal with, trying to meet their bills, look after their families, go to work every day, without you putting more stress onto people." And yes, you're right, it's just a food grant. So why do we have to go through such a hassle? And he was like, "Oh, look, just," and I said, "Well, anyway, I've got all the documentation right here in front of me in regards to the foreclosure. So, I mean, and I've sent this off to my government," and I says, "and they haven't bothered to respond to any of this. So I'm quite happy to send it to you as well if you need to, and have you rebut all of this, this notice." And he was like, "Oh, look, we don't need to go that far, and look, open it up. Let's just do the food grant." And so he was more than happy to accommodate once we sort of started bringing up the foreclosure.
Did you end up getting that food grant?
Yes, I did.
Oh
get
my
it.
gosh.
Now they gave me $150, which is, $150 here in New Zealand gets you nowhere. Not when you're responsible for 6 children, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we didn't need it anyway. We just applied for it for the purpose of, just researching, the fraud and everything, and what they were really getting up to down here at these offices. Anyway, that night, it happened to be my daughter's birthday, so I said, "Well, come on, let's go, and we'll go and use this money, and we'll go and get some stuff down at the local supermarket." Now, we spent about $99 of that $150. Now, that night, I happened to be speaking with Jen, who is a mutual friend of mine and Lisa's, and I was telling her all about my day, and I sent her the recording of what went down, and she was cracking up laughing. She was like, "Oh, you are hilarious. That is brilliant. That's gold." And so she said, "No, that's just disgusting that they even did that. I'm going to send them a courtesy notice." So her and I prepared some courtesy notices to deliver. So she faxed and emailed hers, and I hand delivered mine the very next morning. So they were hit with courtesy notices first thing 9 o'clock in the morning. So just to put a bit of a dampener on their day.
Put the nail in the coffin. Well, I think, Kiri, you've obviously proved, anybody that's listening to this, Kiri is a walking example of knowing your truth knowing your rights, and standing in it no matter what the response or no matter what the potential repercussions, because you know that you're right legally and lawfully, you're in the right, you're doing the right thing, and you're supported by that. So I know you probably have a lot more of these stories, but I'm curious at this point. From the bank, you walk out of the bank, you now have this deposit slip.
Yes.
That's print. I'm looking at it right now. It's printed out.
I gave it to her. I said, "Oh, here you go," and I handed over my deposit slip. I said, "I'll get you to fill that out," and she was happy to accommodate. She stamped my book, she stamped the check, she stamped the deposit slip, and I walk out straight away, and I go straight to the machine, and I go and get a balance just to double check that it was all there. Oh, great!
Yep, I'm looking at it, and this is something that we can share.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So it reads, just for anybody that's listening to this, it reads account balance $15,219.96, and it's the biggest balance. It's the biggest balance receipt balance I've ever seen, and then the available balance obviously is the $219.96.
Yeah, that's right.
But that looking at that, when I first saw that, because that's the thing I really wanted to see. I heard about the letter, I heard about the other things, but actually seeing that deposit printed out from the bank, the transaction record, was it's powerful just to even look at. But so now you're at the point, you leave, you got your deposit slip, you're probably skipping out of that bank at this point.
Yeah, I was.
And then what happened?
So I come home. And I get everything scanned, and I follow up all the notices that I've sent out. So I now notify all the governments and all the departments that I notified previously about the negotiable instruments that I chose to use as my representation, about the confirmation of the receipt and acceptance from the bank of the deposit of value. So that's the other letter that I sent off. Sorry, May, you can hear my children.
Yeah, that's okay. So what happens next? You don't hear from anybody for a couple of days?
Well, basically, I've given them 20 days to respond. Now, what has happened, though, is I've been, I already knew that this was going to happen. I knew that I was going to lose all access to these accounts. Hang on a minute. Where were we?
Okay. You
said you already
followed up. Yeah, you followed up with the people to let them know that you did the.
That the receipt and everything had been accepted, and I sent them copies of what you would be holding, Brian.
Okay.
Just to just to confirm and tie everything up, basically, just to tie it up. So what I was hoping to achieve with that was just to. I made it their onus and responsibility to form all their lower level employees in all departments. I also notified the CEOs and made it their onus and responsibility to inform all lower level employees in departments. And it was just really covering my grounds, because obviously I knew that, either maybe the police were going to show up or, I knew something was going to come about with it. I knew some sort of matter was going to get raised. Now, there was something we were talking about, which I've just totally lost track of since we were interrupted.
No, we're just following the steps of what happened after you went to the bank. So you then notified everybody that you'd done it. You sent them copies of the receipt.
Yeah.
And then, 2 days later?
That's right. We were getting to what's actually happened now. Now, what's happened is I've lost all access to. I can no longer use my cards, the bank cards.
Of all of your accounts, not just the one that this was associated with?
Not all of my accounts, just the ones that it was associated with.
Okay.
Not all of them, just that one. Now, I lost access to the cards the second day, but they still allowed me to have access to the internet banking. Now, when I sent the notification off to the government about the confirmation of the deposit, it was that next day that I lost access to the internet account, to the internet banking, to check to see whether it had been converted. Now, when I deposited my value, it was under my terms and conditions, and I said, under my terms and conditions, you'll receive a one-time transaction discount fee of 10%. So I noted that I shall receive 13.5 and they shall receive 1.5 for their discount fee. So yeah, I kept checking on the internet bank to see if they had converted that. So at this stage, I now no longer have access to those accounts to be able to view what's happened, but I am still waiting for them to respond. So I mean, all the instructions were in there for them to be able to respond to me appropriately. So that's the stage where I'm at with this now.
When did the police make their presence known?
Oh, that was yesterday. Yeah, no, that was yesterday. So I was pulled up yesterday evening. They
in
told
public,
me
or they came to your house?
Yeah, no, it was in public. And so I was pulled out of the car, and they said to me that I'd been committing fraud.
Wait, how did they find you in public to pull you over?
I have no idea. This is what reconfirms that they have been keeping an eye on me.
So they pull you over like a routine traffic stop?
Yep, I'm pulled over. No,
okay.
Well, yeah, like a routine traffic stop.
And walk us through that story, because this is a really important piece. What they said to you, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so they claim they say to me, oh, we've received a notification that you've been committing fraud because you've been using checks. And I said, okay, so what's fraud? And they said, well, you've been using a check. And I said, well, is that not a check? I said, I've been using my negotiable instruments, if that's what you mean. And so I was completely, up front with him. And he said, they called it, they said it's called using a document for a pecuniary advantage or something like that, or using a document. And I said, oh, okay, so whose document was it that I used? And they said, it was your document. I said, oh, okay, so is it a crime to use my own documents, is it? And he was like, yeah, it is actually, and he quoted me some police act. And I said, oh, okay, well, if that's true, well, then I'd expect you'd be able to provide proof or evidence of that claim. And they sort of just they really railroaded me last night, to be honest with you. They didn't want to take anything into consideration that I said. They also didn't want to, because I said to them, look, I've notified all parties and I've been completely transparent. I did say to him, I says, look, if you need to clarify anything, I says, I've been completely transparent and all parties have been notified. So if you either follow me home or take me home, I'll be able to show you the documents to show you that, I've been doing that. I've been completely transparent about my intentions. And he just didn't want to know about it at all. I even suggested that he contact his ministers. I said, your ministers have been well informed. I said, and if you need to clarify anything, you can contact them because they are aware. And no, they didn't. They just didn't want to bar it. And they couldn't make up their mind what they wanted to charge me with. So anyway, they handcuffed me. I went and walked away from them to go and check to see that the children were okay in the car.
So how many kids did you have in the car at the time? And what ages?
I had three of them in the car.
How old are they?
The youngest is 5 and the oldest is 11.
So they were prepared to take you away and leave 3 children in the car by themselves?
They didn't even take into consideration anything, really.
What?
And it was I was just fortunate that actually they were just leaving everyone on the side of the road, but I was just fortunate that where they pulled me up, an auntie of mine was parked in a driveway at a friend's house. So, I was very fortunate that she was there at the time that it all sort of broke out. So she put the kids in the car with her, and
So if not for that, your 3 children would have been left on the side of the road.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's the level of the racism that occurs here, just in South Taranaki alone. It's terrible. It's really terrible. There's an elite team here just in New Plymouth. I've worked out that they're all based in New Plymouth, and they're obviously a family that you don't mess with at all. And I think I may have got the opportunity to meet one of them last night, just by the way that he was acting towards me when I was down in custody at the police station last night. I mean, you know, when you're at a police station and you walk into your work, because, you know, where I was sitting locked up in the cell, they walk in and you just sort of walk in. You don't sort of walk in with any sort of agenda. But this officer, he was quite big, and when he walks in, he's got his fist clenched and he's got his arms spread out, and he's gritting his teeth and giving me this Andre the Giant wrestling type glare and stare, like, you know, you've messed with the wrong people, little missy, sort of look, and I'm going to finish you sort of look. And at that stage, I was already in the cells and I was meditating. So I jumped up, you know, got into a nice, comfortable state, and I was just meditating. And when he walked in, I opened one eye up, and I sort of looked to the corner of my eye and witnessed all of this. And I had a little giggle to myself, and I shrugged it off, and I went back into meditation, and I let him just be and do whatever he wanted to do, really. But so yeah, they've
Sorry, that makes for a great visual. That's terrific.
Yeah. It really does.
You know, I wish I had a video camera or something. If there were a fly on the wall, it would have had a lot of fun last night. So I gave them a really good run for their money last night. And they were making all sorts of accusations. And obviously, I had a lot of answers for them, but I had a lot of questions myself. And they also asked you things like, are you angry? Are you suicidal? Are you capable of hurting anyone? And I said, I don't consent to contracting with you, and I hereby deny you consent, and you accept that, don't you? And she was like, yes, no, I accept that. And I said, so are you suicidal, or are you in denial, or are you? And, you know, so, I mean, I had so much fun putting them, you know, putting them in their place, standing my ground. It was just lots of fun. They didn't know what hit them.
Oh, wow. You need your own radio show.
Yeah, my friends and family say that.
Did now at this point, how long did they hold you, and how did you get out? Did you have to get bailed out? Did they have to release you? What was the outcome? And if there's more stories of what happened inside the jail before then that you'd like to share, that'll make us laugh. That's okay too.
Okay. So yeah, they forced me to sign a notice of police bail. Now they threatened me all sorts. You know, they kept making comments like, oh, you're not going anywhere tonight. You're staying with us tonight, little missy. And I said, oh, rubbish. I said, don't talk nonsense. So I said, I can guarantee you I'm going to be out of here within an hour.
Do they actually call you little missy?
Yeah, that's right. And it was actually one cop in particular. Now, that was the one that came in with the big heavy honcho attitude. Mm-hmm. Which is what made me identify that. I said, you must be a part of the, you know, in my mind I thought, you must be a part of the elite royal family here that's been committing all of this while you're so upset and angry. You know.
Did you sign the document that they forced you to sign without prejudice before your name?
Unfortunately, no, I didn't, because I was, I had so much, they were ridiculing me and attacking me. There was about 4 of them, and out of the 4, 3 of them were just ridiculing me and attacking me with all sorts of nonsense. So I actually forgot to do that, forgot to write without prejudice. But when they asked me to sign, I did ask them. I asked them, are you asking me or are you forcing me to sign that? And they were like, oh, we're not forcing you. We're asking you. And I said, oh, great. So that means I have the opportunity to opt out. And they were like, no, you can't opt out. You have to sign it, or we're not going to let you go, and you're going to be staying here with us. And I go, oh, so you're forcing me? And they were like, well, no, we're not forcing you to do anything. And I said, well, you must be. I said, because you're telling me that you're going to kidnap me and keep me locked up here, if I don't agree with you and if I don't sign that. So I put up a bit of a battle for signing the police bail for a good, 10, 15 minutes. And it's quite funny because I said, oh, that's okay. Because, when they threatened to keep me, I said, well, that's fine. That's okay. We'll open the door back up then and I'll go and make myself comfortable. And they were sort of like, oh, what the heck? What can we do now? Because you can see the looks on their faces. They're all looking at each other like, next one. Who's got the next plan of attack? So the copper lady, she grabs the piece of paper and she walks around. She goes, look, love, don't listen to any of them, okay? You're dealing with me here, okay? Just ignore them. Look, if you just sign it.
Oh, good cop, bad cop.
Go. Yeah. It was amazing. She was playing her role beautifully. But I spotted her a mole. She was the good cop, bad cop. So when I signed the police bail, it's got defendant's signature, and so I scrubbed that out, and I wrote autograph, and then I wrote on it as well under duress.
That's good.
Yeah, and so it's all recorded on my copy and their copy. So when I go there on Tuesday, well, I was planning that when I have to attend there on Tuesday, I was going to ask them for the accommodation agreement. And if he was to pull that out and claim that as the accommodation agreement, then I was, it's right there in wet ink that I was under duress when I signed it. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So what was the final charge that they ended up with?
Oh, okay. So it says take charge code 4571, charge take, obtain, use doc for pecuniary advantage.
So you've used an instrument to try and obtain a financial advantage. Was it advantage? Was that the word?
Yes, correct.
Advantage. Okay. So the definition of advantage is a condition or circumstance that puts one in a favourable or superior position. So you've tried to use their instrument to put yourself in a superior position to them, and they didn't like it.
Yeah.
You reached above your station, love.
And it's a crime, apparently.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, it's
I've
a
never
huge
heard
crime.
anything like that
I've
before.
committed a huge crime, according to them.
So do you have to? So now the next step is they let you out after you sign that document.
Yes. Yeah,
They let you out.
They even gave me a ride home.
Oh, wow.
Good cop or bad cop gave you a ride home?
Yeah, they gave me a ride home. They even let me keep my jacket. Because generally they strip you down and they remove anything that's got a cord or some sort of my jacket that I was wearing, it has old wooden buttons and you sort of hook
anything
it into
you
the
could
loop.
harm yourself with.
So, yeah, exactly. So they and they strip you of everything that you can harm yourself with. But they didn't do that. They said, oh look, we're not going to take your clothing away. I'll let you keep that. And I said, oh, well, I don't consent to that anyway, and you accepted that, so. And you agree with that? And she was like, yes, no, yeah, okay. I said, because I told you that before, didn't I? And you accepted. And she was like, yeah, no, yeah, okay. And then she says, well, we'll need to take some fingerprints and stuff. And I said, yes, but I don't consent to this. And I waiver that benefit, by the way. And I said, then remember, we've been down this road before and we've had this conversation, so that's been settled and sorted. And she was like, oh, look, okay, well, look, at the end of the day, if we have to do that, then we're going to do it. And I said, no, at the end of the day, if you want to do anything with me, you're going to have to need my consent to do it. Otherwise, no, you're not, okay? Or you're going to need to provide me with some sort of proof or authority that you have, or some sort of contract that I have with you that allows you to do that to me. And
So did you walk out of there without you having your fingerprints taken?
No, they never took any fingerprints. They left me my jacket, gave me a ride home. They were very nice from them.
Well, at that point, you were worthless to them.
Yeah.
Because
That's right.
you signed under duress. They couldn't use that signature.
Yeah.
And you weren't falling for any of their other traps.
No.
They couldn't. So they didn't obtain consent. There was really nothing they could do with you.
Yep.
Besides let you go.
Yeah, that's right. Which is why I was probably released an hour later.
Shenanigans. Too many shenanigans all right in a row.
Because, I mean, generally things like that, and especially at that time of the night, you will get locked up and you will be taken into custody and brought before the judge the very next morning.
So you're due to go to court on Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah.
Now, we did have an emergency Skype meeting last night between yourself, myself, Heather, Dee, and Bob. And some documents are being prepared along with the documents that Heather was already working on, which will help with this. So, Bob, can you recall exactly what Heather said in regards to the one thing that...
Well, first off, they're acting out of turn because in any financial transaction, there's universally a 3-day rescission process or a 3-day period with which they can't do anything because you have 3 days with which to make corrections or to even cancel that transaction. So they didn't even wait. It was the next day, right, Kiri?
Yes. 16th, 2 days later.
Okay.
So because you made your intent so clear, they can't prove that your intent was fraud. They can't prove your intent was otherwise because your intent was perfectly clear in all of the paperwork and all of the notifications you gave.
All backed it up. Yeah,
exactly.
and everything that she gave backed up her entire story, and it's gonna and in court they're gonna have to follow the paper trail and study if they want to actually get any kind of anything against you to be able to convict, they're gonna have to follow that paper trail all the way back down the track, and what they're gonna come up with.
What that does is it now drags all their ministers into this.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of cool to watch Heather put her attorney hat on.
I have to say it was, yes.
Yeah. And she basically, what she said was, the reason why they're charging you with fraud was because you used an instrument of fraud. Because their whole system is based on fraud. The fact that you used their instrument or that check from the closed account, that's how they're making the charge of fraud.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, before she is putting together the correction for that mistake, and she's helping you with that paperwork, if I understand correctly.
Yes. I'm so grateful. Eternally.
Wow. Kiri, I gotta say, I can't tell you how what an honor it is to even speak to you and to hear your story firsthand. And I know it's going to empower and inspire many that listen to this. And I'm beside myself. I don't really even know what to say. I'm so excited because this is such a big development, and it's going to pave the way in a myriad on a myriad of different levels to where this is ultimately heading, which is what we're all looking forward to at this point, and what everybody that's going to listen to this interview is looking forward to. And I know it might not be done, but I actually have to jump because I have to go get ready for dinner. So I wanted to just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything that you've done, for standing in your truth, for being so courageous, for knowing your rights, and not waiting for the documents to come out, but just going after it and getting it done yourself. Hallelujah, girl. You should be proud of yourself if you're not already. I'm sure that you are, and there's going to be lots more where I came from. So I just want to thank you, and I know I'll talk to you again here real soon. And Bob and Lisa, I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay.
No, thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Have a nice dinner.
All right, thanks, guys.
Enjoy.
Okay, one thing that people who might be listening to this and freaking out right now, thinking, "Oh my God, it got her arrested, and now she's going to court." What came out of the conversation we had last night was that they probably don't realise what they've done.
No, and that's what I said to them when they had me in custody. I was laughing. I was like, oh boy, you guys just have no idea what you have done. You have absolutely no idea what you have just unleashed. Well done, boys. Well done, ladies. You have played your role perfectly.
And they have, and the banks have,
Yeah.
because they've exposed their own fraudulent instruments in the process.
Yes.
They haven't. What's interesting is what they've charged you with. I mean, the wording of what they've charged you with is very, very telling.
Yeah.
Nothing that you've done can't be undone, as Bob said, by notice of mistake within the 3-day period.
Yes.
And in the process, all of this gets exposed, and it's beautiful.
It's brilliant. They've literally exposed themselves.
Yeah.
All of because what they're charging you with is exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
They've actually you've done exactly what they do.
Yes.
And they're calling it fraud.
Yeah.
And having that, that's brilliant. Doing something for, what is it?
Pecuniary advantage.
Pecuniary advantage. I'm going to use that the next time I go into the bank.
Yeah.
So you want me to sign that loan contract? Does that give you pecuniary advantage? Isn't that fraud?
So where do we go from here? You've obviously got the paperwork coming from Heather, and there shouldn't even be a court date on Tuesday, really, if this all happens beforehand.
That's right. And that's sort of how I see it. I mean, because I'm very diligent. I always make sure I follow things up. So, and I know because generally when you're to appear before the court, they allow you at least 2 weeks notice. But in my case, they've only allowed me 2 business days, really. 2 business days notice. But I do understand why they've done that, is because they do know that they're not just dealing with the average Joe blogs.
Well, they also know that they're dealing with a worldwide worldwide community of people who are aware of all of this.
Exactly, and that's where it ultimately comes back to. It's, wow, this girl is now, she's now here in New Zealand representing for this worldwide group that has, brought all this about. So, I mean, I absolutely love what the One People have done. It's amazing.
And the One People love what you've done, I have to say.
Heather is providing 4 documents, I believe: a notice of mistake. I'm sorry I used your fraudulent. Thank you for pointing out your fraudulent instrument that I used. I love the way she put it. A declaration of being, and a declaration of damage if you are going for the full 10 billion, and then a declaration of value.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
So guys, for those of you listening, these will be available very, very shortly.
Wow, this is awesome. I'm excited.
So please don't.
As I imagine, a lot of people are going to be.
Yeah, well, I hope people listening to this actually get what's happened and don't go into fear, because what's happened is yet more exposure to the system and to the fraud. Kiri's going to be fine. Kiri's going to be absolutely fine. I have no doubts about that.
And Kiri, next week you have to come back and let us know what the balance on your account is.
Yes, I will. Most definitely. Most definitely. I'm looking forward to being able to share the good news. I visualize only good news, so I see it, I feel it, I know it, and I just feel like everyone, like I've said many times, everyone's playing their role. So, whether it be good or bad, we're all moving forward and closer to their ultimate reality.
Yep. We are. Onward and upward. Thank you, Kiri, for sharing your story.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And we will keep in touch. And as soon as you have any news, please let us know.
Yes. Oh, I will. I will. Plus, I'll give you an update. I'll provide an update next week after the court hearing, just to let everyone know how we got on. Or actually, like you said, I don't really think there's going to be one. So, yeah.
Well, it might just be an appearance for them to turn around and tell you that the charges have been dropped or something.
Yeah, well, hey, and I'm quite happy to do that. I'm really happy to do that. I have no issues with dealing with my business.
No, you don't. That's loud and clear.
Anyway, folks, I'll love yous and leave yous. Thank you very much,
thank
Lisa.
You.
It was lovely speaking with you today again, Bob. It's always a pleasure. And take care until next week.
Okay, we look forward.
Radio, bye-bye.
Bye for now.